For the Love of Money, The Night Watchman by Lovey Smitham. Chapter 3. Never completely satisfied, Lady Steele was looking and waiting for her own throne inside her own palace. A king would be nice to have around, but she had never found one worth the short time that nature promises youth. She began to notice a slight wrinkle at the edge of her bottom lip, and then a couple more around her eyes. She might have to be satisfied with a prince of a fellow instead of a king. She settled with Earl Lee Watson. When pronounced, it always came out Early Watson, who was a respected policeman in the town of Grand Saline in East Texas, where her father was president of First State Bank on the town square. Early was quite handsome. He stood tall and showed strength of build and of character Mr. Morrison had to admit when he pressed his new son-in-law to join the bank as an employee, and he would help him climb the ladder of success. Early was not interested in entering Mr. Morrison's bank or the law offices of the banker's close associates who suggested such an opportunity, nor their clientele, a collection of upper-class high society, certainly not politics. He could talk it, of course, and debate it well with man, woman, or child, but did not make a habit of it. Lady had always dreamed of being the queen of society. That hardly seemed likely when she became Mrs. Earl Lee Watson. Neither a king nor prince was he, well loved in the police force as well as by the townspeople. Lady was proud to be his wife. Most importantly, he adored her. In fact, he worshipped her, and she basked in that. It was a lovely time that lasted for 2 years. Then the money fell into her lap. "Marlene Chase is leaving me today," said Mr. Morrison. "Do you mind so much?" asked Mrs. Morrison. They drank the last of the breakfast coffee at home. He would have more with his personal secretary when he got to his office at the First State Bank on the square, where he served as president. Marlene would pour. She would be waiting there for him for her parting gift. "Did you give her a going-away present?" Mrs. Morrison read his mind. No, he did not lie. He still had it to give. There were 2. One was a pen and pencil set to show the other girls at the bank. The other was more personal. Mrs. Morrison found it hard to believe her husband had not bought the girl something, but if today was her last day, why bother to make a scene about it? "Aren't there others who could do what she does?" she asked. The answer to that would be emphatically no. Instead, he said, "Valerie English could be trained. She's bright and pretty. Don't leave out the pretty part," Mrs. Morrison might have said, but did not. Conversation between her husband and wife lulled. He knew she wanted to be reassured that he was unable to offer. She wanted to know how the current situation at his work at the First State Bank would affect her and him and their daughter Adelaide, whom they called Lady. "Have you heard anything yet about who else is leaving? And more important, are we?" If the supposed robbery that took place 7 days earlier, the previous Monday, was not resolved quickly, the bank would be replacing any and all connected to that terrible day. Was he connected? As president of the bank, he would certainly be held responsible for allowing it to happen under his watch. After 5 long years of loyalty, hard work, and excellent service, he might be riding a rail out of town, courtesy of the locals who were up in arms about the situation. They wanted an answer. Maybe he would just run away with Marlene Chase. He smiled at the possibility.